So now we're going to look at part 2 of creating stores in SolidJS. So in our last tutorial we created this, which was a nice book list app, the way you could list the books that you wanted to read, and then you could add them, and then you could check them off to say that you'd read them. I've just added a little bit of styling here so that when we check this has a line through, then uncheck it just to make it more obvious. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to extract this state into its own store. So what happens, it tends to happen in React and also in Solid, is that you want to be able to move this state up. You might want to share this state with a couple of components. Now in this instance we have the state on the top level in the app component, but if we had nested components, which we'll look at later or in a future video, you might want to share the state between the two. Now you could also pass these down as props, these values, and we can look at that as well. But if your state is at the top level and you've got multiple nested components, passing all those props through multiple nests of components can be a bit of a chore. So we can, in Solid, there is a couple of ways to do it. So first of all, we're going to look at just creating a store and then importing that into our component and using it that way. And then in the next lesson we're going to look at the context API, which is very similar to the React context API, which is a nice way to wrap components and be able to share state. So let's get on with this one first. So what we want to do is move this state out. So we're going to create a new folder, and this is just going to have called stores. And then in our stores, we're going to have our book list store JS. Okay, so pretty simple. We just need to import that. So we're not going to need this now in here, and then we can cut this out of here, put it in here. So now we have all our state in a separate store, in a separate file. So now we want to be able to import that. So we want to export, and we want to export all these methods. So new book and set book new book. We also want book list and set book list. We want add book to list, and we want toggle read book. Okay. So we're creating the stores here and the methods, and then we're exporting them here. So if we go to our app JSX, we just want to import from stores, from the book list store, and we actually want to import all of these, so we'll copy them all. And now hopefully if we refresh, hot reloading's working, but we'll try it. 1984 George Orwell, add, check it, everything's still working as it was. But now we've extracted the state out of this app, and we're now using it in here. Now let's create a new thing, and let's create a new method. So what if we want to delete a book? So we add the book and then we want to delete it. So we pass in the ID, set book list, and then what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to remove that. I'm just going to use the previous, and we'll just say previous.filter. So this is going to filter over our array of books, our book list. And what we want to do is we want to get a book from there, and we want to say if the book ID is not equal to the ID that we pass in, then return true. So this will return all the books that don't match the ID, and the ID that we pass in is going to be the book we want to delete. So that should work. So let's, I didn't copy it, I thought I had. Delete book. So we'll put delete book in there, and then we can go down. So in list item, I think what we'll do is we'll add a button here. And that'll have it taken on click. And that will just be delete book, and that'll be book.id. I'll just add a crossing. So as you can see, we've got book ID here. So remember, we are looping over our book list, returning a book for each, a book item for each book, and then we're outputting it here. So then when we come to this button, when we click it, we want to pass it to the delete book function, and we'll pass the ID of the book we want to delete. And like we said before, the delete book function takes an ID. It filters the book list array, and it returns all the books that don't match this ID. So effectively removing or deleting the book. Let's go here. So Cujo, Stephen King, 1984 by George Orwell. Orwell. Add that one, and then check it. Oh, we have buttons not there. Hang on. Have we broken something, or have we broken delete book? Request a module book list store does not provide export name delete book. So we know what we've done here. We've added it here, but what we've not done is exported it down here. So in the book list store, we forgot to export delete book. We imported it, but there was no export. Okay, so let's refresh. Let's try again. Cujo, Stephen King. There's our button. We can remove it. Okay, so that's created a store up here, and we've managed to keep all our methods clear of our components. So the state is now not wrapped up in this component. This component now imports the state from here. Okay, so in this contrived example, it doesn't really help us because we only have one component. But if we have multiple components, this can be really helpful. Okay, and that's CreateStores Part 2.